What's happening, people? So, Arsenal have just drawn 3-3 against Southampton at the Emirates Stadium, and it was an emotional ride there, people, in that last 25 minutes, that last 30 minutes. When Arsenal went 3-1 down, my initial thought was, okay, this is going to be a tall order, but in a funny sort of way, the nearer we got to the end and the more Southampton retreated, the more I started to believe again that Arsenal could go bang bang and potentially get back into the match. And they did just that, people. So 89th minute, Martin Odegaard, fantastic curling effort from outside the box, bottom left corner. And then Saka, courtesy of a ricochet in the box, is able to convert to make it 3-3. And at that point, people, I'm almost thinking this is 50-50 now. Arsenal could go on and get a fourth goal. They've got 8 minutes of stoppage time to do it. Couldn't quite manage to get that winner. There were a couple of goal-mouth moments. I think there was a chipped cross to the back post that was diverted back in. But Southampton, to their credit, got bodies on the line. And there was another moment Reece Nelson had a shot that was blocked. So Southampton defended really well and snuffed out Arsenal's barrage at the end. But in all honesty, people, I did give quite a, I guess, honest and somewhat pessimistic reflection of Arsenal's prospects after they drew to West Ham last Sunday. And at that point, I was feeling, as I said, people, somewhat downbeat about Arsenal's prospects. But now, in a funny sort of way, I actually feel a little bit more hopeful that Arsenal can win the league. And it sounds crazy because we've just dropped points to the team in 20th position in the table. But the way I look at it, people, is that last 10 minutes, Arsenal gave me some encouragement. They were probing, putting pressure on, showing persistence, and to an extent, this is the kind of mentality I want to see from Arsenal moving forward. And if Arsenal can carry on the momentum that they worked up in that last 10 minutes against Manchester City next week, with the pressure maybe slightly, or not the pressure, but the expectation coming slightly off them now, because people are probably thinking that the title's over. I've seen other people make those comments. Maybe Arsenal could surprise people, because if you remember last year, people, when Arsenal lost 3 in a row, with about 10 games to go, they had a bit of a sticky run. They lost to Crystal Palace, Brighton and Southampton. And then they were able to surprise people by winning at Stamford Bridge. And then they beat Manchester United. And they followed that up with a win against West Ham. So it's almost like maybe Arsenal, they're quite a sensitive team. And when they're just feeling the pressure, the results can go a little bit awry. But once they rediscover their confidence, and it can be something fleeting like a goal, then maybe we might see a different Arsenal, a little bit more of a front foot Arsenal, and more assured and coherent and fluid team again. Because I saw it last time, people, when we had that slump in February, we lost to Everton, drew to Brentford, lost to Man City. It just took that goal from Jorginho via the head of Martinez in that Aston Villa game, and it got us on a run of 7 wins in a row. And I just wonder if that shot from Martin Odegaard that went in near the end will give him confidence. Saka getting on the score sheet again might give him confidence. Martinelli scored early in the day. So you just never know, people. Arsenal might just discover some self-belief in this crunch moment when they really need to. And I think it's really important now, people, as a fan base, that we really get behind Arsenal and we don't get too critical or negative about these drop points and potentially falling away towards the end of the season, because they're very much a wholehearted, fully committed group, and they're trying 100%, and I don't think we can ask for anything more. At times, we might be seeing a slight lack of composure, lack of maturity, maybe a lack of experience about how to manage games and just be solid, be compact and pick your moments. But part of that is also Arteta learning on the job, because Arteta's still a young coach. He's still finding his way, finding his style, and he is very much, you could say, somewhat one-dimensional with his approach. It's a fantastic dimension, don't get me wrong. Like, when it's all on song, when it's all working, it's a very, very coherent and well-functioning whole that plays when Arsenal are firing on all cylinders. But maybe when the pressure tells, and it can be a little bit difficult to maybe execute a very specific formula, maybe at times Arsenal don't quite have a plan B in terms of winning matches. But that's something we can look at with Arteta. If Arteta sits down at the end of the season or whatever, maybe that's one of the learning points he might look at. How can we win matches in different ways? But as a fan base, people, I genuinely feel we need to be compassionate and supportive to this group and not be so downcast on how things have maybe slightly dipped here towards the end of the season. But you know what, people? It's not over. Arsenal have still got a 5-point lead. Manchester City do have 2 games in hand, which means that if they win those 2 games, they would go 1 point ahead of Arsenal. And of course, Arsenal have to play Man City next week. So you could argue, people, if Arsenal still win all their games, they'll win the league. It would appear unlikely at the moment, given that the last 3 games have all been draws. But like I said, people, we had that slump in February where we had 3 games where we didn't win, and then we won 7 in a row. So you just never know. Arsenal might go on a run where they pick up a few wins in a row, and maybe the Man City game might just be the catalyst they need, or the turning point, that pivotal moment where they can just readdress the momentum a little bit back in their favour. All right, people, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. Personally, I don't think it's over, 100%. I still think Arsenal have got a puncher's chance to still win the league. It's slightly less likely than it was before this match, but maybe not as catastrophic as we think, given the fact that Arsenal do have mathematically the lead, and Man City do have to still play these matches, because obviously Man City are still in 3 competitions. They're going to be a little bit tired as well, show signs of fatigue, and pressure will get to them at some point, you would think. So it's not a foregone conclusion, people. Still grounds for positivity and optimism for Arsenal here. I wonder if they can surprise us next Wednesday against Man City, and then we'll see, people, beyond that. But as I said, people, let's hope the boys can just play a little bit in that uninhibited, expressive way, and that might just help them. And it's good that the attacking players are all registered on the score sheet. Odegaard, as I said, people, Martinelli and Saka towards the end. All right, people, interested to hear your thoughts. Can Arsenal resurrect potentially still a win here this season in the Premier League? Or is it looking a little bit less likely now? What are your thoughts? All right, people, love the dialogue, and let's keep up the content and the support for Arsenal. Peace, love.